Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third episode of Cricket Spectacle. As expected, I have with me Nikhil Deshpande. However, our friend Dan Gardner couldn't join us today due to some personal reasons. So we are going to keep it a bit short today and have an exhaustive discussion with Dan at a later date.
And
Probably
if anyone wants
for the
any,
next one.
if anyone wants any photos or autograph from Dan, they'll just need to wait for another week. That's all. But yeah, we'll have him back, right? So you can ask all your questions, doubts, any pictures, and yeah,
He's
selfies and stuff. I don't
he's
know.
that good that he's being missed today.
Yeah, we already miss him. I know this viewers will also miss him for sure. I mean, what are we without Dan anyway, right? So and they want to see Dan and his charismatic presence. But yeah, but we will try to do our best as well. We'll add some value to their time. So yeah, let's get on with it. Yeah.
And not to forget those good backgrounds, those different backgrounds.
Oh, the great backgrounds actually. We need to learn as well. We'll probably get ourselves one of those backgrounds as well the next time when Dan comes. So all three of us will have good backgrounds that time. But for now, we'll just work with what we have.
Oh, yes, definitely. So yeah, let's get things started. Last week was a good one for the Indian cricket fans, with Virat Kohli and company sealing a 3-1 series win over England and booking their spot in the final of the ICC World Test Championship. The Indian spinners R. Ashwin and Akshar Patel were magnificent. Rishabh Pant once again showed why he should be a definite pick for India across formats. And England batsmen, on the other hand, failed to adapt to the pitch conditions yet again. Now that we have only one game remaining in the inaugural cycle of the World Test Championship, that is the final between India and New Zealand in Southampton, I think this is the right time to examine the period from 2019 to March 2021. So Nikhil, my first question to you, how big of an impact the opening season of the World Test Championship has had on the game of cricket?
For sure, it's had a very huge impact because the very fact that we are talking about this, and literally everyone has been talking about this since like for many months now, because the inaugural tournament, everyone wants to be the one playing in the finals, which now India and New Zealand will be a part of. But all the playing nations, right? That was the goal. That's why they were playing, and everyone wants to be winning a championship, right? Like something which some of the Indian cricketers, like R. Ashwin, said this as well. Like this is the World Cup for them, because most of the Indian team who are test-centric players, they'll never get a chance to play in the ODI or T20 World Cup, right? So this is the World Cup for them. So it's a really big deal. And I know Kohli and both Shastri have said that it's not the end of, and we can do even without it. But at the end of the day, it's a tournament. Every team who plays wants to win it, right? Like that's a trophy at the end of the day. And knowing India and knowing Virat Kohli, especially at the back of his head, he wants to win it as well.
Yes.
And the same goes with New Zealand, because they haven't got a major trophy as well in terms of an ICC trophy. So this is going to be their chance. They missed out very narrowly in the ODI World Cup, which was probably the best game of cricket ever.
Yeah.
So after that heartbreak for Kane Williamson and his men, this is like a chance for redemption. And they go back to the same country where it happened. So there's a lot of motivation for New Zealand as well to win it. So
Yes.
Overall, I think it's just a matter of giving test cricket more importance as well, right? Like we see so many T20 matches, ODI cricket is always there and thereabout. To give test cricket this platform or this kind of importance where you have a trophy at the end of something is it adds a lot of value to every single game. It's not like you can just fade off after just winning like 3-0 a series. You need to push on, because you never know that one whitewash win could get you through to the finals. And that's something probably Aussie team realized a lot, because they could have been there had the Indian series gone a couple of results here and there, and maybe Australia would have been playing their arch rivals New Zealand. But now here we are, India. and New Zealand. So overall, I think it's been a great addition to cricket and the world of cricket as such. So yeah, hopefully India win and bring it back, the trophy. So yeah.
So, my answer to this question would actually feature in the waiting column for now, because while I wasn't really impressed with the rule change that suddenly happened during the lockdown period, but
Yeah.
I would say that, it's been very much unfair for few teams, who haven't been, or let's say, who weren't able to play their full six series, three
Yeah,
home,
yeah, for sure.
three
Yeah,
home
yeah,
and
I
three
understand
away.
where you're coming from. Yeah.
Yes, and I think from that aspect, I would really like to wait and see how hard it is to actually reach the final of the World Test Championship. We actually saw
Mm.
a major series being cancelled between Australia and New Zealand, Australia and South Africa, pardon,
Yeah.
due to the COVID thing in South Africa. So yeah, I
Yep.
think had that series happened, who knows, the result could have been different. And of course,
Yeah, for
the
sure.
rule
Yeah.
change of from let's say the number of points to the PCT thing wasn't
Mm.
really impressive. I think it was really uncalled for, and it's very important
Yeah.
to not shift the goalpost as Ravi Shastri said. So yeah, I would
Mm.
really like to see from how the World Test Championship goes from here on, and I really hope that all the series take place during the next cycle.
Yeah, I mean, I think the conditions and the global conditions in particular played a huge part in that as well. And I understand why you would be on the fence about this so far. And yeah, I mean, if you're Australia or South Africa, you're probably saying the same thing, right? Like we need to see how things play out rather than just changing the rules in between. And yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like we are living in a time right now where everything's up in the air. Like
Yes,
nobody knows what's going to happen next. So it was that kind of year. We can probably give that a skip for now. And although the eventual winners might have that asterisk
yes,
beside their name, but if you really think about it, like these are probably the two best teams in the world in test right now, aren't they?
yes,
Like
correct.
arguably you would probably be, if not the best, probably in the top three. And if two of them are making the finals, then there's still some value for
Yes,
the eventual winner. So this is not going to be it's not one of those things like it's going to be a one-sided match or it's a loop-sided contest or anything. It's like it's going to be a fiercely contested match, and the winner is going to be crowned the champion, and they are probably going to deserve it as well. So
absolutely.
yeah, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, we want to see all the matches happen, and then the eventual winners who are they get the trophy. But uh, 2020 was like that, so you can't do much about it. But yeah, I absolutely agree that you can't be shifting goalposts and you can't be changing
Yes.
rules in between a tournament. It's just not fair. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is right now. So yeah, we'll look forward to how it happens in the upcoming years. It's going to be interesting. But we have to admit that it's given Test cricket
Yes,
an additional angle,
yes,
and there's more seriousness, and it being the purest form of the game. There's no one who doesn't like Test cricket. The only argument against it is probably like we don't have the time to watch it.
yes.
But if you are performing it at Test cricket, nobody's going to come back to you and say that you're not a good cricketer. If you are a good cricketer, you can perform in Test cricket, and
Absolutely.
that's always going to remain the case, right?
As Sachin Tendulkar rightly says that if you can't do it for 6 hours, you should give up cricket.
Absolutely. Like you can come and swing in a T20 match, and you'll probably get like a 15 ball 40 run or something like that. And it's just gonna be like if it's a day, if it's your day, it's your day, right? Corey Anderson hit
Right.
6 sixes and he scored like a century, like whatever that's 36 ball
Yes,
century.
yes, yes.
But
Against
he
West
can't do
Indies.
it in a test. Exactly, he can't do it in test cricket, though, can he? So it's that kind of thing. Like you can do it if it's your day in a T20 or an ODI, but Test cricket is more of a test of your. That's why it's called a test, right? So yeah, that's where your ability shows up. So yeah.
That's where you really, realize the importance of someone like Chiteshwar Pujara and his knocks,
Oh
in
yeah,
Australia
yeah.
during
Yeah,
during
it's
India's
not
last
just
tour.
the talent. Yeah, it's not just the talent, right? It's the patience, it's the
Yes,
ability, it's everything, the concentration, like to play the number of balls that Pujara plays without losing his head.
Seriously.
That's a skill in itself. That's a skill. You can't teach that. It's raw talent, right? Like to not lose concentration. Like you play 300 deliveries and you score 19 odd runs or something, and you're still there and you're just like tiring out the bowling attack. You can't put that in numbers. No one's gonna come. It's the same thing like happened with the India Australia test match, right? When India defended that test match and didn't lose, they just like played out the whole game.
Yes.
Nobody's gonna come back and say, okay, Hanuma Vihari, you had a great innings. If you're looking at it after 10 years, it's just like what you got, like less than 50 runs. Nobody cares. But you look at the attributes or the ability behind that innings and you watch it.
Yes.
Exactly. You lose it. On the paper, it's nothing. But people who have watched it, people who experienced it, they know how hard it was on that pitch.
Absolutely.
So, and that's again down to Test cricket, right? Like that's the format of Test cricket. That's the beauty of Test cricket. That's why we love it so much. T20, entertaining, yes. Test cricket, you probably know who's good and who's not. So.
Absolutely. I think Hanuma Vihari's 23 not out of 161 at Sydney is going to remain in the history books for a long time, for sure.
Yeah, 23 though, that's the thing. Like
block innings.
Exactly, 23 though. Like if 10 years later, a kid who is probably 10 or 15 years old, who has not watched it, he'll be like, 26 runs, drawn test. He barely scored any runs. Probably, I don't know what Test cricket would look like that at that time, but still, it's the ability and the talent behind those numbers as well, which we need to consider, which only happens in Test cricket. We can't find that in T20 and ODIs.
Correct. Absolutely correct. So coming back to the India-England series, Nikhil, the Indian spinners showed their class. A total of 67 wickets were shared between Ashwin, Akshar Patel, Kuldeep Yadav, Shahbaz Nadeem, and Washington Sundar. However, there's this one fact that I feel that should not go unnoticed, and that's the form of our batsmen. It's been the case, the same case since the tour of New Zealand in 2020. Yes, Rishabh Pant has stepped up to the plate. Rohit has also done well. He did well against England too. But our number 3, 4, and 5, Cheteshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli, and Ajinkya Rahane, haven't really been consistent for over a year now. Yes, those knocks have come, but consistency hasn't been there. Even Shubman Gill, who had a good tour of Australia, his debut tour in tests, failed to continue his heroics from down under. So where do you think, Nikhil, is the problem? And would this give the Kiwis the slight edge in the World Test Championship final? Given that, the game is going to be held in Southampton and the pitches are going to be fresh, during that time in England. So who knows that, there could be that extra spice in that Southampton pitch, which might, let's say, give Kiwis the advantage or the Kiwi bowlers an advantage there. What do you think?
Oh, for sure. I mean, New Zealand will have the advantage. Like in England in those conditions, in terms of just purely up from a bowling and Indian batting perspective, like how we have played seaming pitches, or rather just say England earlier in England, how we have played. It shows that we struggle, and it's not a secret. Like the England players, they struggle in India against Spain. We do the same over there, and New Zealand arguably have one of the best, if not the best, seam attack in Tests right now, with Bolt, Saudi, and Jamieson as well. So now we can keep naming probably, but the fact remains that Indian batsmen have not produced good consistent scores, like you mentioned, for a while now, and that is going to play on India's mind, because the tailenders have bailed us out on a lot of occasions in the last 1 year, especially from the Australian series to the England series right now. Tailenders have stepped up, and it's going to be one of those tours which is going to be like, either we are going to see Indian batsmen take additional responsibility and know that they are not doing well,
Yes.
and step up in those challenging conditions, like Kohli has done earlier, right? Like Virat Kohli is going to be there mentally to conquer that challenge. He has done it earlier. He failed in England, went back,
Yes.
was successful the next time. So that mentality is very infectious as well in the team. We saw that with Rahane as well, right? Like when the chips are down, when Kohli had to come back in against Australia, Rahane stepped up and Pujara stepped up. It's the at the end of the day, it's just one test, right? So it's not going to be like they have to consistently do it over a 3 or 5 match series. It's just one test to
Yes.
put your best foot forward, and you'll probably see whether or not the Kiwi bowlers are good enough to get Indian batsmen out, or whether the Indian batsmen are good enough to adjust to the conditions quickly enough and take over the attack. But personally, I think that it will be advantage New Zealand in those conditions, and there's no hiding from the fact, right? Like it's something which New Zealand would prefer in terms of conditions, and India would not prefer. So it's not even like they are neutral about it. It's just going to be like, nope, we would rather play in Australia than England. But yeah, it's going to be fun. But yeah, I feel that New Zealand will have an advantage. What do you feel about the bowling of New Zealand? And another aspect of it might also be that India also has a good seam attack. So how do you see those two bowling attacks compare, and also the batsmen faring in Southampton?
I think contrary to what you said, I don't think India would be worried about the conditions. Of course, New Zealand in those conditions would be pretty more lethal than India. But I think India do have the pace arsenal to conquer the New Zealand challenge and definitely stop the likes of Kane Williamson, Henry Nicholls, and Tom Latham to score big. But I think our batsmen will really, really have to bat out of their skins so as to make sure that New Zealand somehow don't make their way back in the game, or even get ahead at the first score. So I think it's all going to come down to the fact that how we bat rather than how we bowl. Of course, I'm very much sure of the fact that India is going to bowl well. We are definitely going to see the returns of Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami, Umesh Yadav, and then you have Mohammad Siraj also, and not to forget Ishant Sharma, who just completed 100 test matches. So yeah, the experience is there, the skill set is also there, but I think it's a batsman who would really have to get those big scores. And I think it's long due for the trio of Cheteshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli, and Ajinkya Rahane. And what a better, no better occasion than to, let's say just score 100 each in the World Test Championship final. And I think on the other hand, I would actually be excited to see the possible return of Hardik Pandya. See, he was bowling in the nets during the England series with the pink ball specifically. So yes, we all know, how good a batter he is and how well he did in the series against Australia in the ODIs and T20Is last year. I think just for possibly that one match, we could see the possible return of him, because he's also, he's also a seaming all-rounder, and his extra, his ability to swing and his pace, I think he bowls around 135 and 140, could actually add that extra dimension to India's pace bowling attack. And not to forget, he gives you those big scores with the bat too. So yeah, I think that really excites me, that if he's able to play that test, India would actually have that extra advantage.
Who would you take out though, like from the current lineup? Like just go with one spinner rather than Ashwin and Jadeja?
Yes, possible.
Who would you take out?
Very much possible. I think so. If I have to name my probable 11 for both the sides, for India, let's say, I would open with Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma, then Cheteshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane. Then at number 6, you have Rishabh Pant, the enigmatic Rishabh Pant. At number 7, Hardik Pandya. At number 8, R. Ashwin. And then you have your 3 seamers. So, it comes down to your 3 proper fast bowlers, then 1 fast bowling all-rounder. Yes, there are chances that he might not play also, Hardik Pandya, and Ravindra Jadeja could make the cut here. But R. Ashwin for me is a sure shot starter. He has to play.
Yeah.
And I think for New Zealand, I'm going to open with Tom Latham and Tom Blunderman. Then you have Kane Williamson, the captain, Ross Taylor, Henry Nichols. And at number 6, of course, BJ Watling, the best in the world currently, wicketkeeper batsman. At number 7, I think.
That's Rishabh Pant. No way, that's Rishabh Pant. So
No, Rishabh Pant, yeah, of course, with his ability, yes, he is one of the best, but he still has a long way to go. There's nothing that, we cannot take away that credit from BJ Watling for what he has
sure.
done for
He's
New
been
Zealand over the
amazing.
years now. Yes.
Yeah, he's gone very under the radar as well, right? Like not many
Absolutely.
people are talking about him, which is interesting as well. And I think that has been a trend with New Zealand cricketers in general, right? Like they just go under the radar. Like Vittori, I understand Shane Warne and Muthaiya Muralidharan were the 2 leading spinners that time, but Vittori was pretty much up there, right? But he just went under the radar. Now him as well. Like it's just unfortunate for him, but he's going to be a problem for India, isn't he? So,
yeah, absolutely. And I think after him, at number 7, it's going to be a toss-up between 3 players, I feel. Colin de Grandhomme, Daryl Mitchell, and Mitchell Santner. Depending upon the conditions, whether you really want to play a spinner or you want to go with a seaming all-rounder. And from 8 to 11, you're going to have your 4 proper fast bowlers, Jamieson, Wagner, Bolt, and Saudi. A very, very strong bowling attack. But it's going to be an exciting challenge. And I really feel that, New Zealand do hold that edge, but India, no pushovers. And we can see a good test match, a very good, hard test match.
Oh yeah, it's going to be exciting for sure.
And,
like
both
the teams right up there.
Probable 11s for both the sides.
I think I agree with the New Zealand one. I probably would not play Santner though, because again, nothing against Santner, just that in those conditions, might as well not play him because I don't think it's going to spin much unless we are going to be surprised and there would be some spin. Then maybe you want him as an option, but I don't think it's going to spin much. But yeah, again, if like going by the high probability chances, let's go with all the seamers for now. And India, I would I want to play Ashwin and Jadeja both, but in terms of how bad or rather how inconsistent our batting has been, I would put in Hardik even if he's not bowling, and just put him there right for now in place of probably Jadeja. Because Ashwin, technically, I put Ashwin above Jadeja in terms of batting. Bowling wise, I think still Ashwin has the edge. He has a bit more variety, and there's just higher cricketing IQ with Ashwin is what I feel. So let's say if India are in trouble, I would trust Ashwin to be smart enough to hold an end at least while the other batsman scores, or even in terms of bowling, he will try something and stuff like that. So it's a cricketing IQ decision. Nothing against Jadeja as well. Absolutely love him. So, but if you are going to play Hardik, then probably Jaddu will have to sit. But yeah, there have been rumors that Kohli is not in favor of changing the combination, which makes sense. Because you don't fix something that's not broken, right? So I mean, we might just see the same test 11 which played England, but if it's the conditions are really seeming, then what's the point of playing 2 pacers, right? So Hardik in for Jaddu, but apart from that, and obviously Bumrah coming back into the lineup, I don't think Siraj will get a go. But I want him to get a go, but I think he'll be replaced by Bumrah though, straight up. So Shami, Bumrah, and Ashwin, Ishan, yeah, and Hardik, hopefully if he bowls. But again, even if he's not bowling, I would probably put in Hardik there because I think he has a good record in England. I don't know the exact numbers, but I remember he had a decent enough World Cup, and even before that, I think didn't he play the Test series or ODI or something? I remember he played in England though, and he was pretty decent. Like and the thing with Hardik is, right, one thing, he's not going to be scared. of the New Zealand bowlers,
Yes,
like
yes,
of the
absolutely.
conditions. He has that clear head in his mind. Like it doesn't matter what kind of pitch it is and who's bowling. He's
Yes,
going to play his natural game,
yes,
which is something which we need as well. Because if you're going to be like we saw with the England batsmen, they were more scared mentally
yes, yes.
about the spin, and that led to the loss. Then might as well have someone like Hardik who has a clear mind. He'll just go and play his cricket, and if he converts it into a 50 or 100, then the trophy's coming home probably. So might as well risk it.
Nice, nice. So, moving to our last question of the show, Nikhil, let's say, we saw, how England really fared, and there has been a lot of criticism about their rotation policy. However, I am very much in favor of this rotation policy, because staying in those bio bubbles can get, difficult for the players. And with the fact that, they do have a long year ahead, I, I am actually pretty much in favor of this step that has been taken by the English Cricket Board. So, what do you think? Let's say, what changes, if any, you see in England's team, considering that they have massive challenges ahead in 2021. When India coming later this year, and then you have the Ashes.
I think mainly the first thing they need to do is just clear the head right now, because I think they're not thinking or not mentally not preparing well enough for a match. I mean, I understand the conditions were tough, it was unsuitable for them and all that, but I'm a strong believer that you can overcome conditions if you put your head to it. And it's not something which is alien in sports. Like, we have seen teams do well in very difficult conditions as well, right? So, and it wasn't just the loss, was it? It was the manner in which they lost. I predicted on last week that we are going to see an innings defeat, and it was an innings defeat. It had nothing to do with just the cricketing aspect of it, because when you see Washington Sundar almost getting a century against you, then if Virat Kohli comes and smacks you around, right, it's one thing, that's fine. If Cheteshwar Pujara stands there for 400 balls and gets 100, that's another thing. Washington Sundar should not be scoring 100, almost 100. He would have scored 100 had he got the support. So he shouldn't be the one doing it. So it's a lot to do with how they adapted to the conditions and how they were holding themselves back in terms of preparations and mentally as well. So I cannot see how they don't go to that aspect first. Let's just clear the head, forget all this happened, and just move to the next challenge. And I think they'll be fine once they move back to England. Though it's not going to be one of those series defeats that lingers. It's going to be like a clean slate. They go to England and they'll probably win against India as well when they go back to England. It's going to be seaming conditions. The ball is going to be moving like it's spinning off the seam or something. So it's going to be fun, but I'm pretty sure that England will be fine when they go back. Ashes, though, that's something which is going to be the real test for them, because it's not just that they need to bounce back as a team, they need to win the Ashes back, which is like a huge deal, and it's not going to be easy, right? Aussie team is there. They couldn't ask for a better revenge series for them to get over the loss against India. They are hurting, and a hurt animal is probably the most dangerous one, right? So and you don't just lose a home test series. Australia, historically, what's going on in their head, what Langer's thinking right now. So that they will be up for it. And for England, they, from a team selection perspective as well, just give Joe Root the best 11 now. Like, I understand the rotation part of it, which is fine, and I believe that even if they sent their best 11 to India, they would have lost. Let's be very clear about it. They would have lost. They could have sent any 11 in the entire country, probably borrowed few players from Scotland and Ireland also, but they would have still would not have beaten India in India on those pitches.
India were probably too strong.
They were too strong, and it's just a fact, right? And England knew that. And the first test, they got a good pitch which suited them. India played bad. Let's be honest about it. India played bad.
Yeah.
England played well. Nothing to take away from that point.
Yeah.
But there were a few things which went in England's favor, winning the toss as well and stuff like that. So it's yeah, the team rotation is one thing, but once Ashes comes, and you know how much of a big deal that is for both the countries, you'll know that they are going to put their best 11, and that's when we'll see the actual England. And yeah, I think Root will have his work cut out, because like I said, Australia will be doing everything they can to defend it, and it's not going to be easy for England to play this Australian team as well.
Absolutely.
How do you feel they will be changing from now till the Ashes? Would you point or make any specific changes in terms of personnel, or I don't think they are going to change Root as the captain, right? He's going to stay probably.
See, I wouldn't,
but they don't have any options as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be making those big changes. See, it's fine, you know, even if the batsmen didn't really perform consistently, I would still have the likes of, you know, Sibley, Rory Burns hanging around there, with Bairstow, you know, slotted at number 3. I think he's a good option given the Australian conditions. You would need a, you know, someone, a counter-attacking batsman like Bairstow, who can take on the likes of Stark, Hazelwood, and Cummins most likely.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, I think you have a good, you know, wicketkeeper batsman also in Ben Foakes and Josh Butler. Pace bowling attack is also more or less sorted, and the arrival of Oli Stone, I would say, is a big plus, and he could be handy in those Australia conditions. So yeah, I wouldn't be making any big changes, or let's say, you know, any panic changes, if I would say. And England do have the potential, they do have the talent. So I think it's just about, you know, hanging around with these people and seeing, you know, if they can actually go the distance.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, there's not much to change immediately, right? They have the setup there. They'll probably get Moeen Ali in there as well. So
yeah, possibly.
Yeah. There's they have options. It's just a matter of whether or not they can execute their plans on the day. And like you said, in Australia, it's not going to be easy for them as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it from our end. Do subscribe to our channel Cricket Spectacle for more discussions on the sport we three love. You can even follow us on Twitter. Thank you, Nikhil, and goodbye.
Good day. Bye. Cheers. Bye.